All right, fantastic. Thank you. Now that those logistical issues have been ironed out, we are live on both YouTube and LinkedIn, which is fantastic news. So this is a Ask Me Anything session. So I'll be spending an hour, maybe a little more than that, answering your questions. And the way you can ask your questions is using the interface or the comment section on our YouTube live or my LinkedIn, wherever you're joining in from. Type your questions, and we'd be, or rather, I'd be happy to answer all of your questions. All right. I think the questions are coming through. All right. All I'm getting is yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. You can start off with your questions straight up, right? All right. Is it still worth it to study in the US for masters? Yeah, I was expecting this question, and I know that this is going to be a deep discussion constantly on the countries that you should look at, right? And I am aware, and I'm going to give you a lot of options across the US, the Netherlands, certain others. But to answer your question, is the US still worth it? It depends on the degree that you're doing. The problem with the US and the narrative that's come through about the job market, right? Yes, the job market was tough from the start of 2024 onwards, but it is improving slowly because the US is just a massive job market. Eventually, if you go to a good university, invariably, even if it takes longer, you will secure a job, right? So make sure you go to good universities, and then the jobs are still there. Overall. Now, when it comes to Trump and the visa issues, if you ask me specific questions, I'll answer them because there's so many pieces of news that you'd want me to address with that. But is the US still worth it to study for a master's? In short, yes, it would still be the best destination for a lot of degrees. If you're looking at computer science, computer engineering, electronics, operations, supply chain, industrial engineering, tech management degrees, finance degrees, it is still the strongest job market. For settling down long term, the H1B has always been an issue. And trust me, we've been here and we've been doing this and we've been seeing this since the Trump administration the last time, right? The problem is most of you guys reading about the news and panicking with all of these announcements and random proposals being made. And of course, every time a proposal is made, newspapers are reporting it as if it's been implemented already. On LinkedIn, we have all of these inspirational influencers writing about it as well, not understanding how the US system works. These are proposals from the last 10 months, nothing has changed. Right now, no single thing has changed, and it's not easy to change these things, no matter what President Trump's whims and fancies are. So don't worry too much about that. If you have specific questions about it, we can go. All right, I'll start taking questions from the chat now because a lot have started to pile up. Do you know about Westcliff University? Yes, I do. It's very bad. In no circumstance for no course is it worth applying to. If you go to this university, you will not be able to secure a job. Right? Plain and simple. Not going to work out. I would completely avoid it. All right. Hi, sir. 5% from country and not more than 15% international students. Can you explain about this? The question is unclear, but I'm assuming it is about the news articles where, again, it was a proposal where Trump has proposed to put a 15% cap on international students. First thing, that is for undergraduates, apparently. Second thing, there is no constitutional authority for anybody to be able to dictate this. So there is no compulsion for universities to, implement this whatsoever, right? It's like telling VIT or Manipal, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are, enrolled in, saying that you cannot take more than 15% students from Sri Lanka, right? Like, I know nobody from Sri Lanka applies, but in what way are you going to dictate that, overall? Right? There's no way this is going to be a legally standing or binding effect whatsoever. But what other pressure can be put? And this was done in the case of, Harvard, right? If there are any governmental funding, and you have to understand that a lot of these universities are not really dependent on funding from the federal government. They have endorsements, alumni endorsements that make a ton of money through fees, so they're self-sustaining, right? Maybe they cut federal funding to some extent to these universities. For example, one of the universities affected was my own, Dartmouth College, an Ivy League school. But Dartmouth is a need-blind university. It offers 40% tuition waivers to pretty much everybody who needs it overall for a lot of courses, right? There are so many private endorsements that usually people who are applying for master's programs don't get affected. What is going to get affected is the research output of these universities. If you are, getting a PhD, which is fully funded, if you are a postdoctorate fellow, if you're a research fellow whose research is going to be funded by the university, and then you move on a visa, then probably that funding is going to be cut. If it comes to the stage where they're pressuring the university to that extent, maybe you'll be affected. But as a master student, this cap and restriction has no effect, even if it does come through, which is very, very unlikely, because there's nothing legal about putting pressure on universities and dictating who joins where, and that's largely for undergraduate candidates. All right. I am aiming for MS and CS in Westcliff University. What might be the best strategy I can implement? The best strategy is not to apply there. Like, please don't go to such places. You will not get a job, and later on, there's going to be stuff like saying there are no jobs in this country and stuff like that. Universities of the range of Westcliff, don't do it, right? Please don't do it. Okay, I want to pursue my master's in engineering management. Would it be better to work for a couple of years before master's? Look, getting work experience, I'm never going to say is a bad thing ever, right? Work experience always helps you. For for an engineering management case, it may not increase the odds of you getting into a better university per se. If your profile is already good in terms of a good set of internships, a good GPA, overall, the kind of university you get into does not change much. But it certainly does make your life a little easier in terms of the job search if you get 2 years of work experience by the time you start. Which means if you are graduating in 2026, right? You would want to go in fall 2028, right? With 2 years of work experience. That's where work experience starts to make a difference. If you get 1 year and all, there's no use. Upwards of 2 years of work experience by the time you start the program starts to make a difference in terms of your eventual job sets. So I'm never going to say that work experience is a bad thing. It can never be. You can consider getting it. With the new 100K H1B fee, will big tech still sponsor our startups? First of all, my friend Akash, and for all of you worried about the 100K fee, there is no way this is going to stand in courts, right? This was just done to, set the cat among the pigeons on a Friday afternoon, knowing fully well that courts are going to be shut over the weekend. Lawyers are not going to be able to file injunctions. It's going to take a while for, various lobbies and corporates to come through to put forth legal challenges overall. It was done very well on a Friday afternoon, knowing fully well that there will be wholesale panic over the weekend and everybody will be talking about the Trump administration and the voter base will be appealed to overall, right? So it is not done. It has been proposed as an executive order. There are so many legal loopholes there. Secondarily, it is very unclear, even in the first of all, by the way, if you're not aware, there has been a lawsuit filed by a lot of corporates by this at this point in time, right? There's an article on Reuters, Associated Press, Hindustan Times reported it. One of the largest corporate lobbies in the US has sued the administration, not even a legal challenge, has sued the administration, saying that how in the world are you justifying this? What are you using the 100K for, right? And there is no chance this will be stand in court. And once again, all right. Once again, let me reiterate, this has been done multiple times before, right? You guys are young, maybe you're early 20s, right? You've not thought about a master's degree maybe before this year or last year or the year before. We've been doing this for 8 years, right, with Gradvine, and we've been doing this for too long, pretty much. And there is no bias that we have. Now, whether you apply to US, UK, Australia, Switzerland, France, wherever it is, we help students apply to multiple countries and we charge the same, right? But when we give advice, we don't give it as a consultancy, we give it as mentors in terms of your long-term career prospects, right? So coming back to the answer, we've seen the previous Trump administration, this has been done multiple times. OPT removal tried multiple times. Senator is Paul Gosar, tried it this March, tried it 4 or 5 times prior, right? Changes to the H1B system, various different changes proposed multiple times in 2018, 19, 20, all struck down by courts, right? Because it just does not make sense. And it's not legal to pass an executive order and get it done, right? So the 100K fee thing is not a new thing. It's new because you are in this midst and you're reading about this for the first time and you're very, very involved. And secondarily, there's a lot more amplification on LinkedIn and news agencies, because of Trump going mad in all other areas, are amplifying these because you're going to get a lot more views, right? So this is not new. None of those policies in the previous terms stood in court, and the 100K H1B thing is not done yet, and it's very, very unlikely that it will be done. That aside, even in the proposed order, if you look at the language in the executive order, that is not for people who are on F1, right? F1 to H1, you are in the country and you're doing a change of status. So even if the executive order is taken word for word, this is for people who are entering the country on a sponsored H1B, which has to be accompanied by the fee, right? So it is unclear, and it's implied that it should not apply to F1, but nobody knows because they themselves don't know what they're proposing at this point in time. In any case, like I said, it's being challenged in courts. This is not done, right? And it's very, very low likelihood it's going to it's going to survive all of these challenges. The administration is being sued, in fact, right? Not even a challenge, which is a big deal. All right. Would it be worth studying for a top UK university for CS? How is the job market in the US compared to the UK, as well as stayback period? Let me run you through this, right? Also logically. The UK has been a horrible destination for studying abroad in terms of jobs for 10 years now, right? Just because you're hearing news about the US, and let's assume that you don't believe me, whatever I'm saying, I'm biased, I'm friends with, President Trump, and I get paid to, send people to the US, whatever you believe, all that conspiracy theory, whatever, right? Even if you believe that, okay, for some reason, the US is a bad destination for a CS, does that make the UK good automatically, right? Let me run you through some numbers, right? There are only 19% of people who end up working in the UK doing any sort of job during the PSW, 19%, right? The UK household income has remained flat for the last 11 years. That means the average income, per household in the UK has remained the same over 11 years, and inflation is through the roof, right? There are no job opportunities or very limited job opportunities for local citizens themselves, right? Secondarily, what is the size of the UK economy? The GDP at this point in time is around and about $3.5 trillion, dollars, right? Something along those lines, there and thereabouts. Nvidia, which is an American company, its market cap is $4.5 trillion. Tesla's market cap is higher than the UK's GDP. Microsoft's market cap there and thereabouts. Apple's market cap there and thereabouts. You're talking about individual companies whose market caps are as big as the entire country's economy, right? So in what world will the UK have more jobs than the US? Okay, let's leave this whole economic thing. Maybe market cap, you will say, has no relation with GDP, and you come up with some other sort of explanation. Even in that GDP size, tech is not a big driver for the UK economy, right? UK's the largest sectors are financial services, education services, right? Tech is not a major sector at all. If you're looking at a master's in computer science, you have a country whose GDP is smaller than the market caps of individual companies in the US, and you are looking at a country where tech is not the strongest suit. In fact, let me ask you a simple factor. Now, in recent times, you use so many different products that are booming all over the world. You use Meta, you use Google, you use ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, you use Apple, you use Microsoft. What major tech product from the UK have you been using in recent years? Now, don't come back and tell me, crap like Philips and Unilever and all, which have been there since, colonial times, right? Not that. So what tech sector are we talking about in terms of jobs? There is no way, shape, or form where the UK will have more jobs for computer science graduates, right? it is just impossible considering the size of the economy and the size of the opportunities. Why are people pushing the UK? Because every single Russell Group university in the UK has a tie-up with your consultancy, right? The commissions are very tempting. I get emails from them every day, right? Every day, in terms of commission, saying that they will pay us, something like 10% of the first semester's fees, right? Imagine the amount, right? How much are you going to pay, for the entire degree? Maybe 35 lakhs, right? Half of that 17 and a half lakhs, 10 points, 1.75 lakhs just to do nothing, right? It'll fall in my lap if I convince you to send to that university. That's what most consultancies are thriving on, right? And this year, unfortunately, because of all the news and the irresponsible influencers and all these articles, a lot of these consultancies are going to get a lot more volume of applicants, because they'll say, US to gaya, abhi to UK aa jao, right? But you are not moving for the sake of moving. No? You're moving for a better career. So whatever you read about the US, a lot of which is false. It's just simply the largest economy in the world and the number of jobs are unparalleled. That's not going to change. The UK doesn't become good, no? All of a sudden. It's been bad for over 10 years with 19% people being able to secure any sort of job. And this includes Uber Eats, this includes grocery stores, this includes whatever, right? So it's a horrendous choice for any degree at this point in time, unless you want to do a master's in finance from the London Business School, London School of Economics, maybe to a certain extent Warwick, or if you are somebody with 5-6 years of work experience and you do an MBA with a finance specialization, or you're looking to break into management consulting, even that, I've had mentors who've been mentoring with me for the last 5 or 6 years, and they've done their masters and their MBA, right, from LSE and LBS, and they've secured jobs at Accenture, in London, and they themselves are saying, please ask your students not to come here. There are simply no jobs, right? So the UK has been a terrible destination, and the way the economy is going since Brexit, there doesn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. And trust me, selling you UK is easy, because all their applications require is one SOP and then 2 or 3 recommendation letters. The US is a headache for me, right? If I have to make you apply to Duke, there are 4 essays that you have to write, right? North Carolina State has one SOP with 5 scholarship essays. It's a much harder job for me as a consultant and a company to tackle these applications, and they're far more selective in the US and other countries. So I have no bias or nothing against doing the process for the UK. It's just that you're literally performing career suicide at this point in time when you go to a place that's been bad for 10 years because you've been reading the news about a country for the last 6 months. And this is my most genuine appeal to all of you looking at the UK. I know a lot of you will have these questions. That's why I went a little long on it. But please don't do it. I've received hundreds of messages the last 7-8 years from people saying that there are no jobs. I'm in debt. How do I get a job in India? Can I move to the US? Can I move to other countries and stuff like that? Please avoid it. It's my genuine request. Instead of that, don't go. Just stay back in India. Don't do this UK business because consultancies are selling you that stuff. Will there be a reduction in scholarships for masters in the US now? Not really. First of all, if you're applying for a professional master's program, there are 2 kinds of masters that you guys have to be aware of. One is a thesis track master's, and then there's a non-thesis master's or a professional master's. Most of you will be applying for MEng in CS, MCS, MIS, business analytics, engineering management, MEng in computer engineering, all non-research based programs. And if the idea is to break into a full-time job, getting aid itself is very difficult, right? So whatever aid that you were getting previously, on and off, some universities give it, due to whatever reason. Some of them decide that they want the best quality candidates, and they are willing to endow that through their own particular department's funding. You will be absolutely fine, right? The number of scholarships will not reduce. But to be very honest, in the US, scholarships for professional programs are not very, forthcoming or common either, right? Most places for a professional master's program never gave it in the first place. So if the question is, will there be a reduction? Probably not. But they were not very high in the first place. Just to give you a little bit of context, I think last year it increased. Typically, our students, we do about, I'd say, usually are 700 paying customers, and then fall 24 was big for us. So people applying 2023, around 700 students applying. They got about $4 million in cumulative scholarships. Last year we had a drop because of various reasons, job market being low, people deciding to wait and watch. We had about 620-ish, applying, but the scholarships went up to 5 million cumulatively, right? So a lot higher in terms of scholarships. So on an average, we had students getting $9,000 scholarship straight away. And we do only good universities. We don't do this nonsense stuff, right? Largely top 50 schools. All right, I'm applying for a PhD in CS in the US. Will this recent Trump policy funding cap affect me? It might, my friend. If you're applying for a PhD, you'll have to understand that they're fully funded. And if you're going to a state school, right, a public university, which does depend a lot on federal funding, and if that particular university by chance is, being affected by funding cuts, then it might apply to you, right? Because that's the money that they're going to hand down to you. If you're going for private universities that are well funded and well endowed by private donors, corporate sponsors, alumni, then that's completely different, right? Those are called endowments, right? Endowments are private money. Nobody from the government can touch that. Then maybe not, right? But if you're looking at PhDs, there is a chance that even after you get into the program, if some sort of funding is stopped somewhere and some lever is tightened, they might rescind your offer, because it happened to a couple of people in the past, right? So not going to lie, for PhD, there is a slight cause for concern. All right, for engineering graduate, plan to do a management degree, which countries would be looked at? All right, the best degree you can do as an engineering graduate for a management, right, for the best return on investment will be an engineering management degree. It takes in people right from freshers to people with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of experience as well. People of all age groups and work experience have gone, and they've done well. If you are a fresher or you have limited work experience, the US is still your best bet because of the number of opportunities. If you have significant work experience, you can look at Ireland, which has engineering management degrees, and you can look at the Netherlands as well, which is a decent option overall, right? Even if you're a fresher, Netherlands is still fine. If you're not looking at engineering management degree, you have the less preferred one where the job opportunities and starting salaries are lower. It's called a Masters in Management, MIM. Your best bet for an MIM would be France. Second would be the Netherlands. France, if you're looking to break into, post the degree, more marketing, consulting, finance related roles. If you're looking for tech management roles, then again, France doesn't prove to be a great destination. Alternatively, you can look at MIM or affiliated degrees in the Netherlands. Rotterdam has a fantastic program, but of course, very selective. For MIM programs, your GRE or GMAT score becomes very, very important. For MEM programs, engineering management, your GPA becomes more important, right? For more clarity on these programs and suggestions, you can schedule a free consultation call with us on www.gradvine.com, or you can give us a call on 9000081081. Just give me a moment before I get to your next question. Alrighty. Right. For health informatics, which is a good option other than the US, many local consultancies are pushing towards the UK. Of course, they are nice, big, fat commissions. And I am not convinced. Thank you for, actually putting a little bit of thought, right? The UK worst destination that you can look at. Again, I hope somebody from a UK university doesn't catch hold of me, but really, really terrible cash grabs there. Netherlands is a good option. Decent health tech sector. Again, why I'm saying Netherlands and I'm keeping repeating these countries, because it depends on the economic state of the country, right? Netherlands has a strong startup culture. It has strong multinationals with offices. Language is not a barrier. Good healthcare and health tech companies. Management consulting and marketing is great, right? Thriving economy. It is the 5th largest economy in Europe. And the stayback period is friendly. You have a 12-month PSW. It's not called PSW there. Let's just call it a stayback period where you can stay and look for a job, right? Second, in terms of if you care about it and you want to stay back long term in terms of a permanent residency or the equivalent, 5 years of total stay, including your degree is enough for you to get the PR. So it's friendly both in terms of stay back and in terms of job opportunities, and a good set of options in the health tech and informatics sector, right? Very good for finance as well. Certainly good to consider it. All right. Is Germany a good option for industrial engineering? All right, the ticker just showed up. If you guys want personalized advice for your degree, which is the best country? Again, we'll give you unbiased advice, right? We'll tell you why which country is good. A lot of our students this year who enrolled with us already are applying to multiple countries, because I don't blame them. No matter how much advice I give them, it's your choice at the end of the day, right? If you do want to apply to a different country because your friends told you, your relatives told you, we help out with the shortlisting and the entire process at the same cost. So therefore, that translates on the free consultation call as well. We will give you genuine suggestions on what your best bets are in terms of countries, what the process is, what the timelines are. We will evaluate your profile and give you an estimate of the tier of universities or the kinds of universities you can get into, not the entire shortlist, but give you a good idea. The way you schedule that call is by going to www.gradvine.com, which is there, right? So it's gradvine.com, or just Google Gradvine and we will show up. You can also see our 1250 odd Google reviews from 8 years of hard work that you can see there. Or you can give us a call or drop an SMS, not WhatsApp, on 9000081081, right? Moving on. Is Germany a good option for industrial engineering, supply chain, or MEM? Germany is a decent option for industrial engineering, not MEM. There's only one MEM equivalent course, which is at RWTH Aachen. It's called the MPS Time program, right? It's essentially fancy name, but engineering management only teaches you the same. For industrial engineering, decent option, yes, provided you know the language. If you are considering Germany seriously, if you want to do a program there, please ensure, irrespective of the language in which the degree is taught, you will need B2 level English proficiency in order for you to successfully navigate the job market. In Germany, your resumes have to be in German, you have to interview in German, your cover letters have to be in German. So be good with German before you go and enhance your skills while you're at the program. Don't think you'll pick up the language while you're at the program and secure a job, because the professional space in Germany is largely language dependent. Secondarily, understand that networking and finding a job in a foreign country, whether it's the US, whether it's Netherlands, which I said is a good destination, or Ireland, which I've also said is good, is hard enough doing it in English, right? So you have to be comfortable enough to do that entire process in a language that is different from your native tongue, or different from English that I'm sure you've been speaking for a while, right? As long as you learn the language, industrial engineering in Germany is a decent option, yes. All right, I'm interested in pursuing data science and computer science. Could you please suggest some universities which I should shortlist? I don't know anything about your profile, first of all, right? But if I tell you, should I suggest? Yeah, I'll suggest Stanford, I'll suggest Carnegie Mellon, I'll suggest MIT, I'll study UT Austin, right? But don't know anything about your profile at this point in time. And secondarily, shortlisting takes a much deeper understanding of your profile, your budgets, whether you have work experience, whether you don't have work experience. Some computer science programs are more work centric, some are more GPA centric, right? So maybe your work X is stronger than your GPA, therefore you might want to pick a different one from the top 20 universities, right? Let me give you an example. USC, University of Southern California, is a very GPA centric computer science program, whereas comparatively, if you look at something like a Columbia, right, it's not, or Georgia Tech, right, is not as GPA centric. Does that mean USC is better than Georgia Tech? Absolutely not. Georgia Tech is a phenomenal program in terms of reputation, cost, return on investment, all respects, right? So we cannot do a blind, thing that, okay, this is good, that is good, one size fits all. It needs a deeper understanding of your profile and a tailored recommendation. Get your profile evaluated on the free consultation call on gradvine.com, or give us a call at a reasonable hour, or drop a text on this number 9000081081. Paid quite a bit for that fancy number, so hoping for some people to call us there. How about these universities that have a great reputation overall, where compared to safeties such as SJSU, etc., for MS and CS? Washington University, Vanderbilt, Emory, Georgetown, etc. See, for a CS, I wouldn't consider any of the ones that you mentioned, right? Now, all of these will feature very highly in your US News rankings and stuff, because they're fantastic undergraduate institutions, and some are good for business, right? Like for example, Emory, Vanderbilt, very good business, right? A very good undergrad programs across economics and the likes, very good undergrad CS programs as well, some of them might, right? Georgetown, very good for political science, business, right? So if you look at overall university rankings, 100% they're top, they're elite and great. But for an MS and CS, I would not look at them very seriously, right? They wouldn't feature on anybody's top 10 list. For example, Texas A&M would be better than any of these, right? Is San Jose State better? Probably, because it's also going to be a lot cheaper than some of the names that you have here, and it's in a great location. But there is so many other factors you have to consider, right? With regards to universities. Now, for example, Harvard is a very good CS program, right? But it's also very expensive. Would you prefer, once again, a UT Austin over it? 100%, even though, Harvard's ranking is always going to be higher, right? So I don't think overall one size fits all rankings make any sense whatsoever. But there are a lot of other, factors that you have to consider while shortlisting. Now, based on my answer, you can't just say that everything in a good location is better. For example, I would say at this point in time, Texas is a great destination compared to California, right? Right. So, which is a great location. That's something you need to understand. North Carolina, the Research Triangle Park, very, very good. Right. If you're looking for product management roles, Seattle, right, in the Northwest, excellent overall, right. The East Coast, if you're looking for finance roles, right. If you're looking at a computer science and coding role at major fintech companies and bankings, JP Morgan hires greatly, Goldman Sachs hires a lot. New York is a far better destination. If you want more product and tech-based companies, then you want to be in the West Coast. There's so many different factors, and you have to keep this in mind when you're doing shortlisting. And this is something we'll absolutely do. That's why getting the right shortlist is critical. Don't copy other people's lists and depend on hearsay by and large. All right, I completed my MBA in India in finance, and now I'm looking for study in the Netherlands in finance. What will be the job market? Netherlands promising for finance, like I already covered, right? Especially popular for the field of sustainable finance at this point, right? One of the emerging destinations in the world for the same, right? A lot of hiring going on. Job market, if you go to Rotterdam, if you go to the University of Amsterdam, if you go to maybe university of the likes of a Maastricht, these sort of places are good. Now, whether your profile is good enough to make it, I don't know. It depends on a bunch of factors, including your prior work experience, which is very important for finance, right? Then you can get into some of these universities, and you should likely be able to secure a job. PR, like I said, 5 years of total stay, including your education time at the university. So the way it works is for Netherlands, for Germany, for France, right? Netherlands, you have a 12-month stay back period during which you can stay back and look for a job, no questions asked. If you do secure a job, your company sponsors a work permit. If you hold on the job for 5 years, then you'll be eligible for a PR at this point in time, right? Your work permit is dependent on you having a job at the company. All right, I am an IIT CS BTech grad, relevant work experience of 10 years in Delhi. Should I look at an MBA or an MS that I'll be eligible for? Intention is to move to the US with a course offering a 3-year OPT. Obviously, if you are going to the US, you want to do a STEM designated degree only. Here is the what do you say, the ironic thing, right? The bit of advice you would not expect. One would assume with that amount of experience, the MBA would be the more obvious choice, but unfortunately, you may not be favorably looked at or eligible for a lot of MBAs because they have this stat for MBA admissions called the 80th percentile distribution. 80th percentile distribution is basically what is the work experience level of 80% of all candidates who have been accepted into the program. Most good, decent MBA programs in the US, in fact, anywhere abroad, that band will be the 80th percentile distribution will be between 3 to 8 years of experience. Some will be 3 to 10 years. Now, once you have upwards of 10 years of experience, they will say, why are you applying to this? Apply to our executive MBA programs. Unfortunately, most executive MBA programs in the US are online, and therefore you will not be eligible for the F1 visa. And as a result, you will not be eligible for the OPT. Right? So you'll have very limited executive MBA programs that you can look at. You can look at USC Marshall. It has the iBear MBA. It's an executive MBA. 1 year MBA, OPT, same degree. All of that is great. You have MIT Sloan Fellows, which is again open to folks with upwards of 10, 12 years of work experience, and you have the University of Washington's GEMBA, Global Executive MBA, which is again same executive MBA, upwards of 12 years work, STEM designated, all of that, right? So those would be the only ones. If you are interested, you will be accepted to a lot of CS programs. If you want to stay in tech, I don't know after working for 10 years if you want to stay in tech. If you want to move into tech management, there are alternative degrees that we can suggest to you, which you can absolutely schedule a free consultation call for us. And on that consultation call for free, we will suggest the best degree options that you can look at in the US. Please make a video on how to get application fee waiver for universities and countries other than the US. My friends who are asking for videos, unlike a lot of the very good influencers, right? I'm not going to take names. We are not a YouTube company for living. We don't do that for a living, right? So that's why we don't put sensationalized videos and clickbait stuff to get views. We are a consulting company first and foremost. So we cannot keep churning out videos because it takes away from our daily job of serving paying customers overall. If you want to understand, fee waivers and the application process for other countries, you can schedule a free consultation call. All right. What are your thoughts on MS and CS from USC in spring? Is it a good uni? Job prospects post graduation, RATA while working as a student? USC, see, by itself is a very good university, right? For a computer science, nobody would disagree that it's a top 20. Couple of problems with USC, very expensive, right? So your return on investment curve is going to be a little higher. Secondarily, USC class sizes are massive for the CS program. When there was that course correction and layoff situation with Meta, Amazon, and the likes, right? This was in the early part of 2024. A lot of USC grads were struggling with job opportunities because there were just too many of them looking at the same opportunities, right? Prior to that, it was no problem, but if the job market becomes tougher, then you don't want to be in such a massive class. RATA while working as a student also is going to be more difficult when you are at bigger universities and bigger class sizes, because once again, it's just too many people competing for the same opportunity pool, right? So you should still be fine, but is it the best prospect considering the cost and the class sizes the way it's going? I would not recommend it. Right? Maybe you can look at smaller alternatives. You have to be tactful while picking the university at this point in time. Very good, right? Very good university, but the class sizes are just too massive. All right. Though the 100K fee is not going to stand a chance, my seniors from NYU and UCLA are often rejected from potential jobs because they need H1B sponsorship. All right. So this is again so much being written on LinkedIn about this, about the box in the application that you have to tick saying that do you require sponsorship, and then your job opportunity is getting rejected. This was always the case, right? You have to reveal whether you will require sponsorship, and the number of opportunities available to people who require sponsorship versus people who hold a green card or a citizenship are always lower, right? But we've been speaking to admissions committees, career services at these universities, and others who have secured jobs. You have to understand that you will be rejected if you send 1,000 applications. You might get 10 interview calls, right? This is you're going to be rejected 95% of the time, and this has been the case since when I did a master's, which was 10, 11 years ago. So nothing has changed. You will still be rejected in the future, even in the best job market, right? Eventually, if you're from a good school, from a good program, earlier during the job market boom of 2022, which has spoiled people, and therefore they're assuming the job search is going to be easy for some reason. The people are getting their jobs 2-3 months before graduating. Usually the norm is most people end up getting jobs within 3 months of graduating from these top programs. Now the horizon has changed to 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months tops. If you look at the placement rates, they're still in the high 90%. Right? So it's going to be hard. There's going to be rejections, but eventually people get jobs in the US from good universities and good programs. That's just how it is overall, right? How is Arizona State, UMass Lowell, Stevens, George Mason, Drexel? I would avoid all of them. In normal times, I would have said Arizona State still okay, go and try your luck. But if things are a little iffy, if the job market, because of the statements being shifting the stock markets here and there, right? You don't want to be at an Arizona State level university. Also, I would even go on to say that maybe not even a Northeastern at this point in time, which has traditionally been good for CS and DS and the likes. Large classes, I would not be, right, because you're not going to get as much support from career services. The rest are not even worth discussing, to be honest. How is France for an MS in CS? Not good for tech. If you're going to France, you want to be in consulting, which is any management degree. You want to be in finance or marketing. France is not a significant tech hub, right? So you're looking down for the wrong opportunities in the wrong place if you go. All right, I want to pursue an MBA in the US. I'm 33 years old with 10 years of work ex. I'm looking for 50% scholarship. That's a very specific number. Which schools are the best? I will tell you which ones are given significant scholarships. UCLA Anderson has given scholarships to the tune of $50,000 to $60,000. Same with Chicago Booth. Same with Carnegie Mellon Tepper. Same with even Northwestern Kellogg. Indiana Kelly has given 100% tuition waivers to our candidates and our students in the past. And this I'm telling from personal experience. Only our students, not hearsay and some Reddit post, right? Emory can give you significant scholarships, maybe a 50% tuition waiver as well. But again, for you to get that waiver and to get into a good MBA program, especially with the 80 percentile distribution, it depends on your profile as well, and you need a damn good GRE or GMAT score, about a 655, 665 on the GMAT Focus Edition, or if you have an older score from the old format, then a 720, 730, or a GRE score of a 325 plus for sure. All right. After graduating from MISM graduate courses, are job prospects more inclined towards tech-oriented or a mix of tech and non-tech, like product management? That's a very good question. It depends on the program that you're going to. If you go to Carnegie Mellon, right, that's a very tech-heavy program. In fact, Carnegie Mellon's MIS program and the MISM BIDA track, which is Business Intelligence Data Analytics, is often used by non-CS grads to break into more core CS roles because of the tech-heavy curriculum, right? Same thing if you look at maybe a University of Washington at Seattle, most of the job outcomes because of the recruitment patterns and the curriculum are towards product management. It can be both. For MIS, it varies from every single university to university, just as it does with MEM. You can't just apply blindly on the basis of ranking. It varies from university to university in terms of the sector and the kinds of roles that are more popular there. All right, would it be worth getting a UK degree and then looking for a job elsewhere, such as US or UAE? Or would it be more efficient worth doing a US degree? You cannot just walk into the US like literally the intention is to make it harder for people who are doing a degree there itself to get a job, which again won't bear fruit. But how will you get a UK degree and walk into the US without a visa, right? It's all visa ka chakkar here. So that's not going to be possible. With regards to UAE, fun fact, apparently there is a rule, right? I've seen a bunch of students from Duke tell me this, that if you go to a university that's ranked in the top 50 in the QS rankings, you are eligible for a UAE golden visa for a very nominal cost or for free, apparently. So maybe that will give you an option to move into the UAE, but will you need to do a degree in the UK to move? That just doesn't seem likely. You might as well try your luck, apply directly, right? Is it true that Trump has made a new rule to that will allow only 5% of Indians? This is not, Trump can't make rules. I'm trying to explain to you guys again, and it's not your fault. It's just the way LinkedIn guys are writing about it, and the way it's being made in newspapers. Trump can't make rules, right? It's a country of laws. Things have to be passed through the Congress, where they don't have a majority. Executive orders, they can announce anything that they want, right? They can decide, they can pass an executive order that they want to build a wall across half the country, but it will be struck down by courts because it's illegal, right? So you be comfortable with this fact. For the next 3-4 months, first year of presidency, just like in the last term, there are going to be a whole bunch of this nonsense, announcements being made every other weekend. There'll be a whole bunch of hoopla in the newspapers, and they'll get their views. None of that is going to pass because you just can't make rules in a country, right? Not in a democratic country, and a country of laws, at least. All right, I received a visa refusal for fall 2025, but got a deferral to fall 2026 for the University of Maryland College Park. Should I apply to 4 or 5 universities for fall 2026, or is it okay? Um, University of Maryland College Park is a good university, right? I don't think the university would have contributed a large deal to your rejection. If you have to go there and reattempt the visa, it's fine. Now, because you already have a good university in hand, if you want to give better ones just a shot because you have nothing to lose, sure, it makes a lot of sense to give it a shot. But UMCP as a whole, you should be fine by and large. University in the US without IELTS and GRE, there will be there, but you don't want to attend those, right? They are taking you without any proficiency test for a reason because they just want students for the money. Getting a job after these places is going to be very, very hard. What about New Zealand for MSBA, MSDS, MSAI, career opportunities, job market? This is a country that has more sheep than people, right? Its population is probably not bigger than if you're in a tier 1 or a tier 2 city in India, not greater than that city. People are talking about New Zealand because yes, they're offering opportunities for immigration and PR. Same with Iceland also. They're offering free PR, right? Anybody can go, but that is not for the sectors you are looking at. Not data science, not AI, not analytics, right? Tech sector is different. Maybe there are PR and opportunities for tourism and other sectors. Don't mix the two. Why I'm bringing this in is because a lot of people have been asking me about New Zealand and Finland and all randomly. I'm guessing it's because there's articles about the population shrinking and them encouraging immigration. Immigration is different from career building. So if you want a legitimate job after you graduate, that's a tiny market, right? Even if you don't want to look at the US, that's fine. But like I said, think about countries that make sense at least. Once again, for tech, and I gave the reasons if you joined the live late earlier, right? Because sectors are strong, economy is strong. Netherlands is a decent option. If you have WorkX, Ireland is a decent option, right? Don't look at this New Zealand and all tiny countries, hardly any tech economy whatsoever. So I wouldn't look at it. Is MS in electrical engineering with VLSI? How's the job market? Very interestingly, right, across the board in the US, and this was perhaps because of the NVIDIA wave, I've seen a lot of people who are doing an MS in VLSI, electronics, communications, computer engineering. All of these get job opportunities far quicker than CS grads, which is an anomaly, right, overall. So yes, it is a very, very strong job market in the US if you're looking at it. All right, fall 27 MSCS applicant, 2 years of WorkX, GPA 9.2, one paper for the top 10-20 universities. Should I focus on publishing more papers or GRE prep? Is GRE still crucial with WorkX? See, fall 27, I don't know how it's going to change next year, but from what I understand, the GRE is going to remain optional, right? And I know that on our WhatsApp group, somebody sent a very funky video about some correlation, how GRE will become compulsory. I've actually sat down with admissions committees, right? Because of the work we do, because the sheer number of people that we put into top universities year after year, we do have the privilege of hosting webinars with them, talking to them. And they said they made GRE optional post-COVID because they assumed a lot of people would not take the test. But after they realized for people entering fall 2021, fall 2022 and the likes, right, the correlation between this person's GRE score and their performance in the program and their subsequent job was very, very limited. So they decided to continue doing this whole GRE optional thing because they're getting a lot of good candidates who did not have a score and they were open to accepting them based on the rest of the profile, right? That being said, fall 2027, you have more than a year and 2 months, year and 3 months before you apply. So if you want to maximize your chances and you want to open up universities where the GRE is compulsory as well, because your profile seems great on the looks of it, give it an attempt and try and get a 315 with a 165 plus on the quant. It certainly will help out in places where it is required, obviously, and give you an edge where it's optional. Give it a shot. In case it doesn't work out, you'll still be good for a top 20, I think. All right, is it okay to apply to UIUC MSIM program considering it's not a funded program? They say MSIM students are not eligible for TA and RA and hourly positions. UIUC MSIM is offered by guys. I would look at it with a little bit of apprehension because it's also a slightly newer program. I think there are far better MSIM programs within the same tier, right? With the same acceptance rate. In fact, if you're looking at MIS, I would very strongly recommend you try and apply to the priority deadline of Indiana Kelly, which is November 1st, right? Last year, they did a September 1st deadline, which surprised us all. First time they did it in 7 years. But a lot of people who did manage started early and applied to the deadline, got in straight. And that's a terrific program in terms of return on investment. Indiana Kelly MIS also, for certain students, offers and admit with the TA offer straight away, right? So there are better programs with the same level of selectivity than UIUC. Should you remove UIUC completely from your list? I don't know. It depends on your profile. It's about finding balance. It's about looking at the likelihood of you getting a scholarship as well, right? So I cannot recommend whether you should remove it off the list, but I can tell you there are better programs with the same level or acceptance rate. That you can look at that can replace UIUC very comfortably. All right, how does the PSW stay back and work in the US, and how can we use it? Thank you. I think there's a question about this on the WhatsApp group as well. And those of you who are not on the WhatsApp groups, you can join, look at any of our YouTube videos. We have a WhatsApp community where I'm not answering as often because we're busy with paying customers, but we still do voice chats and answer questions on and off whenever we can, the Gradvine team and I, right? So you can join that. But this question came in the group, right? There's an assumption that the PSW in the US is only for 60 days. It's not. It's supposed to be 90 days, but there are ways around it. And therefore, if you don't get a job in 90 days, you have to leave the country, right? So let me tell you the process of staying back in the US and getting a job, right? It's slightly more, wouldn't say complicated, but it's different than, a PR and a PSW. So basically, after you do any STEM designated master's degree in the US, and you have to do only STEM designated ones, you get a 3-year OPT. Right now, there is news that OPT will be removed. Trump is saying he will remove OPT. Trump is proposing removal. He will propose. They've been proposing from 5-6 years, 5-6 times in the previous term and this term. Not going to go through. Right? That's a constitutional change. But you get a 3-year OPT during which you can stay back and work on your student visa. Now, the rule is for the OPT to be activated, you need to get a job within 3 months of graduating or 90 days, right? So ideally, what this means according to the rule book is if you don't get a job within those 3 months, you'll have to leave the country. Fair enough. But here's the deal. Why do all universities in the US have a statistic, the placement rate within 6 months of graduation, even though you have to get a job within 90 days? They're not stupid, right? Here's the deal. When you get your 3-year OPT, it is 1-year OPT that's offered standard after every degree in the US, non-STEM, right? It could be a master's in HR, right? Or a master's in history, right? You will get a 1-year OPT by default. If you do a STEM designated, you get 1-year OPT plus 2 years STEM extension, right? So that is a total of 3 years. So your first year of OPT is not your STEM OPT, it's a regular OPT. Where am I getting to with this? The first year of OPT being a non-STEM OPT, you can stay back and work for any kind of job. It could be an on-campus job, it could be a teaching job, it could be a volunteering job, it could be whatever it is, right? You need to get that job, which most often universities, the good ones at least, support you with, so that your first year of OPT is activated. So typically what happens is you have 3 months, 90 days. If you find a legitimate job in that, no problem. Your OPT is activated and you're fine, right? If you don't get it in 90 days, most students take up one of these jobs on campus itself while they're looking for a full-time offer, and they get that extension for a year, which means it's 1 year and 3 months typically that you have to find a full-time job offer. And in a job market as wide as the US, this usually proves good enough and long enough, provided you go to the right university. Don't talk to people going to Drexel, going to DePaul, going to San Diego State, going to Governor's University, all of these places, and they're saying there are no jobs. They shouldn't have gone in the first place. Unfortunately, those are 80% of the students going from India, right? And you are not going to get jobs going from such places. From the top universities, you can curse me, shout at me, tell about your friends, whatever. If not in 3 months, within 6 months, you will get a job if you go to a good program from a good university, right? So that is how the stay back period works. Now, yes, it's not 1 year, 3 months. I would say it's 1 year, 2 months, simply because you will need 1 month of buffer so that you can put your job offer, go to your university, asking them to activate your OPT and all of that, get your EAD card, all of that stuff. Give 1 month buffer. So I would say 1 year and 2 months you have to look for a job. So that is the situation in the US, which everybody uses at this point in time. From the good universities, you might take longer, but nobody really comes back without paying their loans. All right. I want to do an MS in CS in the US, CGP of 7.07. I'm in my final year. Will clear this in my 7th semester. Is it possible? It is possible, but I think getting a top 50 would be challenging. Now, this year, I believe that the competition is going to be lower, because for whatever reasons, whatever I tell you, logic is going to fail, and there are going to be less people applying, and there are going to be more people applying to the UK, which is a very, very scary situation. Already no jobs. There's going to be a greater influx of students there, right? So competition might be a little less. Therefore, maybe a top 50 will work out. But in normal years, without me looking at a crystal ball based on past data, it is going to be challenging to make it to a top 50. If you want to, this year could be your best choice. Top 60, top 70, possible. But once you go outside the top, I would say 40-ish, your location becomes incredibly, incredibly important. Prioritize the location over going to a top ranked university in Oklahoma or Nebraska or something of that sort, right? Location matters more, and your shortlisting has to be done on point. Is University of Central Florida good to pursue an MS in CS? Absolutely not. Please don't go. Okay, we've received 100 messages today with Restream chat. I can't see how many people are live on this, but I'm guessing quite a few. Probably higher than our usual lives, but thank you so much. It seems to be a great response. Which master's degree, AI or DS, is best for a job in the US? Very, very largely overlapping outcomes, but here's the deal. Always the reputation of the university trumps the degree when these are so close, right? CS, AI, DS, very overlapping career outcomes. So you'll have to prioritize the university you get into. Based on that recommendation, which your question should be, what suits your profile a little bit more? If you have more of a research heavy profile, right, more research papers, more research internships, more publications, right, then you are better off applying to DS programs because they value research more and they're more research heavy programs. If you've done more corporate internships, you have full-time corporate work experience, you have technical projects, right, not research heavy, you have a better shot of breaking into the top AI programs usually. So depending on that, take a call which one you want to target. The other deal is, if you look at something like a Northwestern, right, cracking a computer science there is very, very difficult. AI is less selective. Career outcomes are essentially the same. And everybody would argue Northwestern is one of the best schools in the world for a computer science. So that is your ticket in there, right? For data science, something like, an NYU, cracking the data science segment is harder than cracking computer science because it has one of the premier foundational first data science programs out there, right? So you might want to tweak your list a little bit. That it's a very fascinating mix. Each university has its own selectivity rate for different programs, but the career outcomes can be the same. It has to be done smartly. So AI, DS, CS, very overlapping career outcomes. And if you are looking at one of these degrees, definitely join the computer science roundtable. So on October 12th, we are bringing to you the people working in the industry and recent graduates of the top computer science AI DS programs in the US at this point in time. And you can ask these questions straight away, and they'll tell you about the reality of the job market, how H1B is being sponsored, what the application process is, what the application strategy is. You can join the computer science roundtable on October 12th using the link. It should be posted somewhere there, or it will be in our most recent YouTube video, which you can check. MBA at Georgia Tech. It's an incomplete question. It is good purely because Georgia Tech Scheller, right? They are very friendly with aid, first of all, And secondarily, universities in Georgia, at least until this year, I don't know if it's changed next year, it's unlikely to. If you get a TA or an RA, then your tuition fee for that semester can be waived. Write to them and check. So it's definitely not a top 20. Georgia Tech Scheller would maybe be a top 30 MBA, but it could be easy on the pocket. And if you're looking for tech management roles, it's a great bet. All righty. I used to have a feature where, I could highlight the question when it shows up. I think something with the interface this time where I'm not able to do that. All right, I'm just trying to pick a question. All right, my US visa for fall 2025 got rejected. I've deferred my admit for fall 2026. I want to apply for MIS in data science in Germany, Ireland, Netherlands. What would be the good choice? If you have prior work experience, Ireland. If you don't have, if you're looking at MIS, I'm hoping you have work experience because it's not the best degree for people without work ex. Then the Netherlands is also a good option. Germany, I've already told you, if you learn the language, it's decent. And not for MIS, more for data science. It's a better bet because you'll have far more options. All right, what about Indiana University Bloomington or IUIP? I'm assuming it's IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University, right? That's what it's IUPUI for MS and CS. There's a world of a difference. Indiana Bloomington is a pretty good CS program. IUPUI, I would not even apply, forget attend. Is it possible to graduate from the US from a top school and apply to jobs in UK, Europe, Singapore, etc., with a possibility of relocation and not just restrict yourself to the US? I would say it's going to be a little difficult if you just do the degree and want to apply to a job outside, because the moment you're looking at outside of your home geography, right, which is going to be the US if you do a degree there, then recruiters are going to care about your work experience. And US work experience is extremely valuable in tech, right? Anything in tech, anything in operations and supply chain, anything in tech management. If you work at a US firm driving products, building products, improving supply chains, doing AI integrations, they're at the cutting edge, right? That work experience becomes very, very useful for you to get a job and become a hireable asset anywhere in the world, right? I was talking about this on a recent YouTube video that I did with, just the name is just slipping my mind, but it's a recent one where I did it with a computer science grad from Columbia. And, the obvious question was, are you getting stressed with all of this talk about, the H-1B 100K fee and all that. And then he says, look, I have a job, I've done internships. I'm gaining some fantastic skills, more so that my company will not only be willing to maybe relocate me elsewhere if, the worst case situation happens, which is unlikely again, but I will definitely be a hireable asset back in India or, any other country on the outside where I can apply with a work permit, right? So that work experience adds a lot of value. Just getting a degree and trying to move out may not be possible. Shyam Pandya is the name. Shyam Pandya. I did the video with Shyam Pandya. He was an MS and CS grad from Columbia, and he's from Punjab Engineering College undergrad and currently working in Microsoft at this point. So check that out if all of you are looking at a CS degree. All right, there's a research experience essay for some colleges like Stony Brook, UCSD for MS and CS. How to tackle that if you don't have any research paper publications? That is challenging. Are you applying for a thesis track masters without research experience? That would be a little worrying. If you're applying for a non-thesis track, then the way it's not going to be as important that I say if you're applying for a non-thesis track. The reason why it shows up in the application is because it may be a common application system for all of them, but they will not look at it very seriously. You can write about maybe some of the more theoretically heavy stuff that you did in your projects itself, and where you have to dig into maybe some of your academic expertise to solve a problem within the corporate setting that you work for, or within a technical project, right? There has to be some academic application or implementation of your coursework in theory. On the practical side, you can try and highlight that and get around it. But if you're applying for thesis track without research papers, then it might be a little bit of a worry. Which uni country do you recommend for UI UX, product design, and management? These are three very different fields. Like UI UX and product design, I still understand. Product management is a whole different funda. So which one are you looking at? Right? I'd like you to understand that these are three very, very separate fields, and you need to get clarity in terms of what you want to do, right? Product management involves the entire market research, feature building, strategy aspect of it, whereas UI UX is, as you know, just the interface. And you can get into a UI UX related role even if you have a bachelor's in pure design and you're applying for an MS in HCI. I've had people who've done a bachelor's in architecture apply for an MS in HCI and get into UI UX design, but they will never become product managers. So what are you looking for there is critical. If you're looking at product management as a degree, 100% look at the country which is building the maximum number of products at this point in time, right? It would be the US. Alternatively, other strong tech economies. There's a lot of product related work happening in Ireland, but that is also with American companies. The largest recruiters in Ireland are Google, Meta, and Amazon, by and large, right? Yes, Ireland, if you have prior work experience, is decent, and the Netherlands is always strong, like I said, right? For tech, across the board, product management, yes, these three. If you're looking at UI UX design, I would not look beyond the US. It's going to be very, very challenging in other countries. Top 5 universities off my head for MSIM in the US, non-GPS centric. All right. Fun fact: no MIS program is really GPS centric. My top 5 would be UC Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon, University of Washington, Texas A&M, Indiana Kelly. I know I didn't mention UT Austin, but I have my reasons. But you said top of my head, these 5 would really be strong. What about universities like University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and UTS? I don't know what UTS is, but Baltimore County, 100% don't go. Please don't go. I have an admit from Baruch for MS in Finance. Fantastic. That's it is, I'd say, the best MS Finance program in the US. Deferred to spring intake because of visa slot unavailability. Should I still consider going given the current situation? 100% you should go. Right? It is a university and the subsequent job will happen for sure. I have not seen anybody in the US go to a top 20 university in recent years and come back without doing a job, right? They might have come back voluntarily, including Trump's previous administration. 100% you can go. You can go for it. How is Austria for masters in bioinformatics? Why? What is good in Austria? Right? So why suddenly we are talking about Austria? Maybe you read some article or some consultancy told you about them in maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure, but promoting immigration, giving scholarships, whatsoever. What is the most widely spoken language in Austria? Right? If you all don't know, it's German. So the language barrier is still the same as Germany. The size of the economy is a fraction of the size, right? Much smaller. Yes, the University of Vienna is a good university, yes, but it's one university overall. So why would you suddenly pick a country out of the blue which has not been giving jobs for international students for decades now? Does it suddenly become good because there's bad news in the media about some other country, right? So no, please don't look at options like this, right? Bioinfo, you're much better off in Germany. Lot of pharma and health tech companies there if you're willing to learn the language. Now, if you're going to Austria also, you'd have to learn the language, right? You're not going to crack a job in English there, right? So you might as well consider Germany because it has the same language barrier but a better job market. So please don't pick these random options out of nowhere, right? Best city in the US for good opportunities for computer engineering related streams. I wouldn't look at just the city, just look at areas and regions, right? Texas, terrific in terms of opportunities. Cost of education is low, cost of living is low, good companies, good job opportunities. People joke that Texas is the new California. I hope it doesn't turn into the California way, due to policies. You would be happy in the North Carolina Research Triangle Park region, the state of North Carolina, the Research Triangle Park area. You'd be good anywhere on the East Coast, New York, Boston, Massachusetts, and Boston is in Massachusetts, Connecticut, that entire belt, very strong. The Chicago Midwest region, very, very strong. You would be okay also in the tri-state area of Washington. People assume that it's just government jobs without realizing that Amazon has one of its biggest campuses there, right? And does hire a lot, right? Amazon is the company that hired the maximum number of H-1Bs in recent years. I've had several students, my own peers, who are doing very, very well after VLSI, computer engineering related degrees in the DC region as well. How does INSEAD look for an MBA right now? Can it be considered over USB schools? Yeah, if you're looking at an MBA, I would recommend definitely France and the Netherlands as better options than the US, right? Purely because France, if you're looking at an MBA, again, maybe you want to break into management, consulting, finance, marketing, these sort of areas. France gives you an MBA degree at a much lower cost. In the US, an MBA may not be as practical because it's going to cost you $150,000-$160,000 just in tuition fee. So you add living over 2 years, you might be touching the $180,000-$200,000 mark in expense, which is a very daunting amount to have, right? Same thing, INSEAD, the tuition fee, and you can finish the program in a year. The fee is about 100,000 euros, right? So you're done in a fraction of the cost for a very, very similar starting salary to the tuition fee that you're paying. If you look at French business schools, which are one level below, ESSEC, ESCP, you are looking at tuition fee around the 55,000-60,000 euro mark, right? Much lower, and job opportunities are there. Starting salaries are commensurate. It's around 80,000-85,000 euros. Maybe INSEAD will take you to the 100,000 euro mark, right? So ROI in France definitely worthwhile. Same for the Netherlands for an MBA, right? So this is where I'm saying, when you're picking particular degrees and programs, right? Guys, I don't get anything in recommending the US to you. But if you want to do an MS and CS in Austria, or an MS and CS in New Zealand, and think that there are more jobs than the US because your cousins who've gone to God knows which university, did not get jobs, then you're just wasting your time, right? There are good alternatives for good degrees. You need to make that conscious choice, and we'll help you out with all of that overall, right? The way you find out for your case is to book that free consultation call using the website link, or using the link that my colleague is providing, and show up for that call, right? Which good MEM programs are very good for 3 to 5 years of experience wanting to crack into PM roles? Dartmouth is outstanding. Northwestern is great, especially if you have a high amount of work experience like you do. Duke is strong for product management. It has a co-op as well. You can also look at Johns Hopkins, very underrated, one of the best ROI programs. By the way, people saying no jobs, no jobs. Johns Hopkins, the most recently graduated batch, in the height of this poor job market, talk, 100% placements. Dartmouth, 98% placement rate, right? That means one student didn't get a job. And I got in touch with them to try and understand, like, who's that student. They had 2 other job offers that they rejected because they're looking for a specific job, right? Purdue placement is at a 95%, right? Maybe 1 or 2 people did not get a job, right? You're looking at, Dartmouth's done, Purdue's done, Johns Hopkins is done, right? Duke, right, at a 90% placement rate, right? Maybe it took them longer to get a job, but people are getting jobs, right? So, please do not go to nonsense universities. If you are going to nonsense universities because it's cheaper, don't go, right? Just stay back in India. If you go to a good university to the US. Don't look at people who are going to nonsense places and then cribbing about a job, about no jobs. Or if you feel like you cannot make it to a top tier university, or you don't want to go to one, then just don't go. You're going to be in trouble. Yes, the next question is, I'm going to look at that only. Sunny, Albany, NJIT, or University of Dayton. Is it good to choose? Because outside consultancies are always pushing me for that. I have proposals from 5 master whatever consultancies. There'll be one guy who sublease it to all smaller consultancies, right? I have universities who reach out to me, these very names straight away, for the tie-up, saying that they will pay me $2,000, $1,500, $3,000, which is much higher than my package price itself, right? If we convince people and send them there, don't go. You are not going to get a job by going to these sort of places. Consultancies will push, obviously, because they are going to get $1,500 for that. They will do your process for free and they will take it, right? Please avoid. Please avoid. These are not good places. How is Missouri University of Science and Technology for Industrial Engineering? Absolutely horrendous, right? Don't go to these places. You will not get a job, right? You can, no Trump doesn't matter. You're not going to get a job if you go to these places. Not a legitimate job, at least. Which market do you think is best for MBA after 2-3 years of work ex? If you have 2-3 years of work ex, you are a bit short, right? If you look at any foreign MBA, whether it's Europe or US, they typically, the ideal sweet spot is for you to have 5 years of work experience at the time of entry, 4 years at the time of application. For you to have an outside shot, 3 years at the time of application, 4 years at the time of entry, right? And then my recommendations would be France, number one, Netherlands, there and thereabouts. I'd say, as strong, if not stronger. I'd say then after that would be the US, right? France, Netherlands, third option would be the US. ROI is just better in other countries outside the US for an MBA. Yeah, so UCSD does not ask explicitly for thesis, non-thesis while applying. That's why, right? It's a single, application portal. So you'll have to tackle it the way I told you overall. All right, it is 8:15 and I've not come to all the questions. I have a hard stop, guys, because I have to go to another meeting at this point in time. I'm sorry that I could not get to all of your questions. That's usually the case in all of our lives. But if you do still want advice, if you want to clear your doubts, you can schedule your free consultation call on www.gradvine.com. Give us a call on 9000081081, or you can use the link that is in the comments that's being put by the handle Gradvine to schedule your free consultation calls. You can get suggestions on the best countries, you can get suggestions on the best programs for you, you can get stats on the job market and placement rates at various universities, you can get your profile evaluated, all of that on the call. And of course, we'll talk about our paid services as well. 98% of Gradvine students make it to a top 50 university for the programs they're applying to. This is not just the case for the US. Yes, majority do end up applying to the US because common sense does prevail for a variety of programs overall. But beyond that, we have admits to LBS, LSE for good programs, MBA and finance, where you can at least think about getting a job, right? We have admits to TU Munich. We have admits to TU Eindhoven, TU Delft in the Netherlands. We have admits to ETH Zurich as well, right, in Switzerland. Overall. And the number of admits across the board is unmatched by any other service because we come from the top universities. We are academic mentors. We are not consultancies trying to sell you stuff. So get career advice, get career guidance at this point in time. Then pick the right place because that's very, very important in the prevalent situation overall. And after that, of course, we help out with the university shortlisting, having technically correct statements of purpose, ensuring you maximize your chance of getting a scholarship at various programs because we know how many scholarships have been given in recent past, right? Other places might have 1 or 2 students getting to Carnegie Mellon, Duke and the likes. We put 40-50 every year and we've been doing this for 7 years. This is our 8th year, right? So the amount of data we have in terms of likelihood of a profile getting a scholarship is incredibly high, right? So it's all academic mentorship and consulting. And of course, before you do anything, you can get advice through a free consultation call. So do schedule that. I do not have time to get to all of your questions questions because it's not possible in these public sessions. But do stay in touch with us with the free call, or stay in touch through our WhatsApp groups, which you can join using the links in any of our recent videos, right? So thank you so much for joining in and being such a wonderful audience. We will wrap up this session now.